right, hello, we're back. Okay, so it is a marathon. We're here at session 4. We're almost done. 2 more sessions. We're going to be covering security, and then we're going to get into career opportunities and certifications and just the other ways and getting really involved in sort of the ecosystem and advance your own learning and your own career opportunities in Fabric. And yeah, just so excited to have all of you here and being part of the Global Fabric Day 2026. This is the Security Location Intelligence in Microsoft Fabric, and we are the user group for location intelligence and security. These are the topics we kind of do deeper dives into, and of course, AI agents are coming online. Fabric IQ is kind of a new thing everybody's really excited about. And this session is specifically going to take us into the security aspect of this. And again, many of you know me. We've been here for the event together. But just as a reintroduction, if somebody is just kind of joining us now or catching a replay, my name is Philippa Burgess, and I'm just wrapping up my graduate studies. I have 3 masters across, my first one's urban planning, second one was human security, geospatial intelligence with a GIS certificate, and the third one is a master's of study in law, privacy law, and cybersecurity. So, and part of it was as I was applying my GIS, I was finding it was pushing into national security. And when I got to national security, I was like, well, it's all security. Like, I should really know this part of it as well. And I just feel like oftentimes I see data and cybersecurity being very siloed, but in fact, all data professionals should be applying security, and all security professionals have lots of opportunity to do data analysis, data science, and data visualization. So that's part of why I'm here, is this opportunity to break down these silos and just give all data analysts, BI professionals, data scientists, the language and the thought process to realize that this is all part of your job too, and it expands your toolkit, and it doesn't need to be so siloed that you outsource the GIS or you outsource the security, or they outsource the data, that we all can kind of better communicate, understand what each other's does, know what the boundaries are, but know that there's that sort of we can all be embracing, especially in security mindset. And so here we're going to talk about identity as the operating system, so security access and agent governance in Microsoft Fabric. So identity is the operating system that decides who and what gets to use your intelligence platform. So Fabric security model comes in 4 layers. So security in Fabric is a layered stack, not a single control. So you've got identity. Entra ID manages identity for authentication and authorization for all human and non-human principals. So users, service principals, managed identities. And again, just keeping in mind that your agents should have their own Entra IDs and their own identity. When we did our session on attacks, leaks, and tax breaches and data leaks, what we learned in that session was that machine identities are the new attack surface. That's the breach. So we want to be very careful about how we authorize and use machine identities. The second layer is platform role-based access. So how you assign those workplace roles to whoever's holding that position, and whether they're an admin, a member, a contributor, a viewer, controls what users can see and do inside Fabric. Now, again, role-based permissions, when you come into agents, they should not have the role of being able to delete. They are better viewers and they should never be admins. Layer 3 is your data level security. So you can apply row level security, column level security, object level security, and semantic models to restrict what data specific users can query. And this is often like a very underutilized feature. You should be looking at it if your data needs to have any encryption or masking, or that not everybody can see everything in terms of different departments, different roles, and think in terms of PII, personal identifying information, PHI, personal health information, or anytime you're dealing with any of the international rules for data privacy. So there's 2 issues when you're thinking about security. There's data privacy, which is more in terms of who can see this data, or should not see this data, that is part of your governance, and that is part of understanding, is there regulatory compliance that you are under because of financial, because of health, because of global, like GDRP or CCPA, or wherever you are in the world, or what your regulatory frameworks are. That's privacy. And that's really important to know and understand what your privacy laws are. Then there's cybersecurity, which are actual threats. They could be insider threats, they could be external threats, attacks on the system, other kind of breaches, data exfiltration. So other things where you're really, in terms of like, there is a bad actor in the system, or just something that is unauthorized in the system. And so there are two different things that kind of come together when we talk about security. And then the third one is your network and compliance. So private links, VNet integration, data residency, sensitivity labels, which I was just talking about, PHI, PII, or credit card information, anything that needs to be masked, and a purview audit trail. So 4 layers, and all things to think about when you're working with anything to do with, again, privacy, security, cybersecurity. And we don't want to bolt it on. We don't want to sort of just do the things we do in Azure Data Factory or Synapse or our separate machine learning. You don't want to create multiple governance silos, fragmented platform reconciliation, and then AI that's trained on ungoverned subsets. What you do want is a unified trust layer where you have your Microsoft Fabric core, your OneLake, and your AI kind of inside something that's protected by Entra ID and Purview, and that is the perimeter. So with OneLake, you get a single data copy, the identity first access modeling, then zero trust is built in. It's another thing that it's really about when you're new to security or you haven't really been thinking about security concepts before, is to be able to just have language for it, to understand the different types of controls, like the NIST frameworks, the concepts of zero trust, concepts of least privilege. They're just some very basic things that as you start to get the language, you'll say, oh, okay, I see how these apply to me, as an analyst or a developer. I see how this applies to my team, to my department, to my company, to the enterprise, to larger ecosystems that you're part of. So this is why, to me, it's like very important to sort of have these conversations to just start getting you to think about the language and applying this in your work. So there's a layer of identity. So the authentication for humans and machines principles, users, service principles, managed identities. There's the RBAC, which is role-based access. That's your workspace roles, defining action permissions, admin, member, contributor, viewer. There's your data security. This is the granular query boundaries via row level security, column level security, object level security, and the network and compliance, physical and logistical perimeters. So private links, VNet, sensitivity labels, purview. So what we just talked about kind of visualized. Your identity control plane, conditional access, requires MFA compliant devices or secure network locations before granting access. Privileged identifying access, your PIM, just-in-time elevation zero standing admin privileges for Fabric admins. Your service principles, headless automation for API calls, semantic models, and AI agent endpoints. Your managed identities, secure workload identities, accessing Key Vault and SQL without code-embedded secrets. And cross-tenant B2B, granular external guest access mapped directly to secure workplace items. Now, I will say, when I first started as kind of a baby developer, security wasn't on my mind, as understanding that I was so new to this and so new to publishing on GitHub. And I would get screaming alerts from Google, more than one, saying, your API is exposed, don't do that. And then we hear other horror stories of people who expose their API and $55,000 of use was assigned to them or billed to them because other people said, oh, cool, we can get access to whatever that API led to. And it was a per use billing. And so really learning that was one of the things I learned early was how much I did not know or understand or apply good security hygiene to basic development and coding. So I think it's very, very important to be thinking about this in your Fabric tenant and the work that you do in data. So enforcing that data boundary, so defining semantic logic once, consumed securely everywhere. So once you define it, it can carry it through. And again, the data perimeter matrix. So you've got a row level security, or can be applied to column level security, object level security. The mechanism is contextual row filtering or total object shielding. Configuration layer can be DAX filters on semantic model tables, or configured at the semantic model level, not the database level. Dynamic logic, auto filters via username or user principal name versus role-based existence mapping. Primary use case is sales reps only see their region, or salary columns are hidden from non-human resources staff. And then UX impact, seamless, data simply appears, scope to the user, or it's disruptive, surfaces a column not found error, requires UI planning. And this is just kind of one of the things that was sort of, as we're looking at this, is that this can be one of the most underused security capabilities in Fabric semantic models. So, think about how you're using and can apply RLS, CLS, OLS to the work that you are doing. And then Entra ID, it's the control plane for Fabric. So Entra ID is Microsoft's identity management. You can use it to control access policies. So require MFA, compliant devices, or specific network locations before Fabric access is granted. You can service principals, automate Fabric API calls, pipeline execution, and semantic models refresh without user credentials. You can have Entra groups for RBAC, assign workspace roles to security groups, not individual users. It's scalable and auditable. Privileged identity management, JIT, elevation for Fabric admin roles, no standing admin privileges. Managed identities, give Fabric workloads a secure identity for accessing Azure Key Vault, storage, and SQL, no secrets in code. And tenant access, configure B2B settings to control external guest access to Fabric workspaces and items. And the emerging frontier is AI governance. This is so important, is how are we governing our agents? AI agents are now first-class principals in your environment, and they require explicit government. So human access versus agent access. So human access, you've got your Entra groups, your MFA and conditional access and UI-driven interactions. But your AI agents access need service principals and app registration, outbound access protection, think in terms of data exfiltration, and API-driven prompt and action loops. And again, being clear about what your agent can access and can't access, what it can do and can't do. And we've seen that they've added soft deletion in Fabric, just so things that accidentally get deleted can still be recovered. But we want to be really clear about what our agents have access to and don't have and privileges to. So agent governance lifestyle, you're going to be looking at identity. Every AI agent receives a dedicated Entra ID app registration, no human credentialing, borrowing. Second phase is least privilege. Agents receive read-only access to minimum data service, never assign workplace admin. Phase 3 is connectivity. Service principal authentication ensures secure, headless MCP server access. And then phase 4, whether you're talking human in the loop or human in the lead, agents executing writes or triggering pipeline hits an enforced approval gate. So no autonomous write back, making sure before an agent can write anything or write over anything or delete anything, that is managed. The purview audit logging for AI agents, absolute visibility into machine queries. So principal ID tracks the exact service principal. Capacity ID monitors compute usage. User prompt, what are the historical trends, is the question, captures exact human intent. Executed query logs the translated data action. Sensitivity label tracks touching of classified assets. So AI governance, the emerging frontier. So AI agents are now principals inside your Fabric environment. They need an identity, permissions, and government. So this is kind of just a review of what we talked about. Service principal identity, least privilege permissions, audit logging for agent actions, agent access boundaries, and human in the loop for rights. And then you are applying zero trust in your fabric. Never trust, always verify, even inside the fabric perimeter. So verify explicitly. Every Fabric API call authenticates with Entra ID. Conditional access policies validate device compliance, location, and risk at every session. Least privilege access, workspace roles, RLS, OLS, and service principal. Scopes limit access to the minimum required. No standing admin. So really always think in terms of least privilege. With the least amount of access, this person or this tool needs to be able to function and do their job. And then always assume a breach. So you want to enable purview audit logging, Microsoft Sentinel integration, or DLP policies, which is data loss prevention policies on sensitive Fabric data from day one. So just don't have the idea that, oh, well, we'll deal with it later if something happens, if we are breached. No, it's like build it in from the start gate to always assume a breach. And we talked about the idea that there's two types of things that you're talking about. One is privacy, what needs to be kept private, and that has everything to do with governance and compliance and laws. And the other part is bad actors and where do whether that's an internal threat, an external threat. And so you're actually having to account for both of those, not just one. And outbound access protection. This is where we talk about that you're hardening the perimeter against machine-driven exfiltration. So what is it allowed to take out of the system? Default deny. You can block all outbound traffic from data agent by defaulting it at the workspace level. You can do granular controls applied strictly at individual workspaces rather than tenant-wide sweeps. You can do an explicit bypass, create hard-coded exceptions to allow specific connections to vetted data sources outside the perimeter. And governance patterns for multi-team Fabric deployments, domain-based workspace strategy, organize workspaces by business, domain, finance, operations, security, rather than by team or project. Domain owns their data contracts. Centralized versus federated governance. Central Fabric admin controls capacity, tenant settings, and data residency. Domain admin controls workspace membership and item permissions. Deployment pipeline governance. So use Fabric's built-in deployment pipelines, dev, test, production with approval gates. So there's no manual file copies between environments. And guest and external access controls, define per workspace external sharing policies, use Entra's B2B with conditional access for partner or client access to governed data products. Multi-team governance patterns, domain-based workspace strategy. So your centralized capacity controls tenant settings, enforces data residency, manages deployment pipeline gates. So you've got federated domain admins own the domain data contracts. They control the workspace membership, and they manage item level permissions. So here you've got Agile Workspace, Finance Workspace, Operations Workspace, and Security Workspace. So when you're dealing with sort of multi-team, having those patterns. So here we're talking, so the takeaways is identity is the operating system of Fabric. Entra ID, conditional access, and PIM are not optional security add-ons. They should be foundational to your workflows. RLS, CLS, OLS, and semantic models are the most underused security controls in Microsoft Fabric deployments. AI agents are now principals in your environment. They need service principal identities, least privilege scopes, and audit logging. Zero trust applied to Fabric means verify explicitly, least privilege always, and assume breach with purview audit from day one. And multi-team governance works best with domain-based workspace strategy and centralized capacity controls. So zero trust Fabric, verify explicitly, least privilege, assume breach. And that will lead you to trusted enterprise intelligence. So security in Microsoft Fabric is not an overlay. It is the structural foundation of AI readiness. And I think this is, connecting it back to security is nice and is a should have, and I really am an advocate of it as a must have. But now that you're introducing AI agents into the environment, and they will be working with this data, and they are being given instructions about what to do and how to do it, going back and making, like I said, making sure that everything is as it should be and everything's locked up in the right ways, because otherwise, if your agents are accessing information they're not supposed to access and then delivering that information that they were never supposed to access, that creates problems. And that's why we were talking about this before, about how all of these things connect. And so the idea of location security, again, with Fabric IQ, can do a lot, but it's going to do a lot better when the underlying data is organized and properly governed and properly protected. So with that, I'm going to come back to the chat and see how everybody is doing. Yeah, so how is everybody? I know we're a little further along in our day. I'm going to go ahead and share some of the links with you that I think you might, that kind of relate to some of the security. So actually, okay, so I'm going to get you some information that might be helpful. So this is kind of in Microsoft Learn. Here is some where you can get more information about the data access control model. And then here is getting started with security in Fabric is also another Microsoft Learn module. And here is some information about row-level security. And I'm just curious, I mean, feel free to chime into the chat, like how much do you use this? How much is this part of your existing workflow? Are these new ideas for you? Is this kind of a new, or are these just kind of affirming things that you already know and that you see every day in your teams, in your departments? Obviously these are kind of more enterprise, but I just want everybody individually to just see how it applies to your own work and your own development in your careers, because I think that these are exceptionally important, and I think when you add them to your language and to your resume, they can be incredibly helpful and help you stand apart as well. So I think a lot of people also, when we look at sort of and we'll talk more in the next session about careers, is that there's a question often of how do I stand out? How do I position myself? And absolutely always recommend the ability to have a great data portfolio and be the best data professional that you can be, but also thinking in terms of what can actually get you to stand out and stand apart. And adding security to your portfolio as a data professional can absolutely help you to stand out. Adding your ability to work and demonstrate not only being able to use and deploy AI agents, but also being able to secure those agents and add that AI governance layer. And there's there's AI governance, and then there's AI agent governance. And to be able to add that to your workflow and to your resume, I think really makes you stand out as someone who is not only current, but is also future thinking, and also becomes essential because now you're someone who can easily translate between what still currently exists as a lot of siloed teams of people who have more of a security job or more of a data job, and you get to sort of be a translator between or among them. And same thing with your ML teams. And our roles in which how we work and operate and function on teams is also going to continue to evolve. And when you bring these skills to the table, you will stand out and be given more opportunities and responsibilities within those communication networks, because again, you act as not only someone with a valued skill, but also as a translator. And that's where I would say, if you're looking at certifications, again, we're going to discuss that more in our next session, you will see things like SC 500, which is AI-enabled cybersecurity. So they're retiring some of the previous AZ exams that were required for, or optional, but in order to get the Microsoft cybersecurity, it's a combination of exams. So it's SC 100 plus other exams, but they're retiring the AZ as part of that and replacing that with the SC 500, because they're more interested in knowing that you can actually secure the AI part of security, how you're using AI in security, and the new threats that AI is creating, and how to lock those down and manage them responsibly. So SC 500 is one to look for, and the other one to look for is DP 800, which obviously being here kind of qualifies you for these certifications. And I'm going to put the certifications again in our chat, because one of the things I want to make sure we're really considering in our, actually here is a bunch of links. I'm going to kind of put them all together here, that will get you everything from the schedule to the certs to other ways to connect. And there's contests and other things, which are always great for portfolio building. But what I want to specifically draw your attention to, oh, I just realized that there didn't come with spaces, and so it didn't make them live links. Let me fix those. Okay, so now you should be able to click through those. Okay, so hopefully those are live links, or you can copy and paste those. And with that, you also want to really look at DP 800. I think DP 800 is going to be one of the best sort of next certifications for all of us to get, because it shows that we now can do AI-enabled SQL. And with SQL, for example, it's, there's a lot of drag and drop in the C600 and SC700. So knowing SQL is part of being able to pass your DP600, DP700. So you're going to have to learn that anyways. You might as well just show and demonstrate that you know how to work with the MPCs, you know how to govern AI, you know how to apply what we talked about, role level security, object level security, appropriate masking, and all of these things like that we just talked about, like are key to our DP 800. And so I think that that's a really important one to look at, because you're going to have this opportunity to really stand apart and showing your having the most cutting edge, the most recently released certification. So DP 800 just came out of beta, so it's brand new in general availability, and SC 500 is currently in beta, and it's going to be coming out this summer. So if I were to encourage people to look at 2 exams to take, it would be the DP 800 and the SC 500, and there are definitely on my roadmap to take and pass those exams. So that's just my kind of thoughts on that. So definitely super excited. So yes, this is we've had the question before: is this a qualifying event? Yes. Can you watch the replays for qualifying events? Absolutely. Will I have additional resources for you? Yes. Are we so excited that you're part of this community? Absolutely. And just really appreciated having my mods join us earlier to kind of get that conversation going. And we're almost at the end of our time. So yeah, we've got one more session, which we're going to do a deep dive. I think Hadir is going to be joining me for that one. I hope so, because you've heard a lot from me. I definitely am excited to I always love, sharing the stage and having collaborators, and everybody, even in my audience, always knows, like, you're always welcome to come join me. I love having, a group of mods, and I'm always very grateful for them. And I love having co-speakers. So it actually something I'm going to just bring us to really quickly. Let me do a screen share. And I just want to as we're kind of, like I said, between sessions, but we've got a few minutes, and I just want to go ahead and just run you all through what we have planned and what we're doing. So I'm going to show you 2 things. Let me get my screen share queued up here so that I can share with you what we're up to, and excited to have you all as part of it. Okay, so let's start with 2 shares. First share I'm going to do is with our, let's see. Okay, so we're here on the Microsoft Reactor stage, and I just want you guys to all know that this is the kind of the main stage for Fabric Data Days. So what is here is they regularly host 1-hour sessions that take us through the, and so here's kind of things that are coming up on the live. So if things are interesting for you, you can kind of add that notify me button. There's also a official registration page for these through the Fabric Community Data Days. So kind of you can get more information directly from them, but you can see kind of here's they're going to be an upcoming, then they have them in multiple languages, so Spanish, Portuguese, and English. But they have kind of how to pass for getting certified just in general. And then they have ones that are specifically focused on DP 800. There is getting started, your first day with Copilot, GitHub Copilot. There's other ones, again, multiple languages. Okay, here's the English one for the DP 800. And then we have more. And then, of course, this kind of, there's also the AI Foundry kind of does their talks. I will be presenting here in this session. I'll be co-presenting with Taylor Amy from I Just Got Started to I Made This. And I have a feeling I should be doing some demos of what we make. And then we've got just these other ones. And like, so again, this is the main stage. And I just kind of want to show you kind of inside the mind of a data viz champion. Of course, we have many contests that are happening, and the first deadline just passed, and then there's 2 more deadlines, so you can submit in every round or in any round. And then if you're interested in becoming a Microsoft MVP, that's a great session to attend on the 14th. And then I just spoke this past Thursday on with Brian Bonk on the future of AI in Microsoft Fabric, data agents and beyond. So that gave me a good foundation for today. And again, there's other ones that you can watch on PL 300 as you prepare for that. So you can, and it's just the idea, there's other ones that are on DP 600, DP 700. So there is just a lot of information there that I wanted to sort of share with all of you as far as what's happening on the Microsoft Reactor stage. And then another one that we can take a closer look at is just sharing my screen. Okay, so this next one is, so I'm sharing this right now, and this is our calendar. So what I want to do right now is, you can see everything there. Okay, so here are, so this is today's event, and this is our calendar. And I'll also add this to the chat as well right now. So today, we're here today. And then on Tuesday, we do Esri, get to know Esri from Living Atlas to Living Atlas to spatial analysis for Fabric users. Then on the 7th, these are on Tuesday morning specific time, data and AI security and governance in Microsoft Fabric. And then we've got a dedicated Fabric IQ for data professionals. Then we have another Saturday half-day event called Win in the Seams, stitching together data and security with Microsoft Fabric, KQL, and data logs. And then we have KQL for data professionals. And then I'm going to do a Geoent AI, which is kind of my other interest, but that's not part. So Data Days ends here on August 4th. So that's our sessions for our Microsoft Fabric location intelligence, and security user group. So that is, yeah, just wanted to sort of give you sort of the full schedule of what we've got. And yeah, we have a few more minutes. I just want to kind of, actually, you know what? We've had such a long day. This is a perfect time for everybody to go take a rest, take a break, go. We hope you come back. I'm hoping Hadir joins me for this next session. We'll find out. But in any case, I think this is a perfect time for us to take a 10-minute break. If some of you have been with us the whole time, I know some of people in Pakistan and India have gone to bed, and that's understandable. And actually, it's quite late now in Europe and Africa as well. So I commend all of you. I know we have many different people here kind of representing every time zone, but I think this is actually perfect for a break. So we're going to end it here. I'll look forward to seeing you all in session 5, and we will regroup and catch up again in about 7 minutes for our session 5, and we'll wrap out the day. Thank you, everybody, and see you then.